The autumn wind swept harshly across the VA hospital parking lot, rattling loose leaves against Lucas Mitchell's windshield. Rain streaked down the glass like veins of grief, distorting his view until a familiar silhouette emerged through the blur. A German shepherd, limping yet noble. Searching, Lucas's breath caught. His fingers tightened on the steering wheel. He hadn't spoken the dog's name in years, hadn't dared believe. But there, scanning the crowd with keen eyes, was Rex, his partner, his daughter's guardian, and the soul he'd surrendered under impossible weight. He stepped out, knees unsteady, as if muscle remembered what heart had tried to forget. Rex. He whispered the name, falling from his lips like a prayer, choked in sorrow. The shepherd froze. His ears perked. His nose lifted, catching a scent that cut through memory, through time. And then, despite the injury in his leg, he lunged forward, not in aggression, but in urgency, as if the reunion could stitch together everything broken. But sirens shattered the moment. 3 police cruisers screamed into the lot. A megaphone crackled, slicing through wind and emotion. "Step away from the dog." The voice was hard rehearsed. "Officer Chuck Thompson. That animal is government property." Lucas stood tall. Years of military service taught him how to withstand pressure. But this was different. His chest ached with the weight of every sleepless night, of Emma's silent tears of sacrifice. From behind him, the hospital doors parted, and out stepped a cluster of veterans, their gaits slow but purposeful. Then, a small figure broke through the crowd. Emma, 8 years old, her coat soaked through. Her face pale, but her steps deliberate. She hadn't spoken a word since Rex vanished. And now she moved toward him, lips trembling. Rex saw her. His tail, so long held still by discipline, began to twitch. His ears tilted forward, not in alert, but in recognition. For a moment time held its breath. Emma's small hands were clenched at her sides, her boots splashing silently through puddles. The wind whipped strands of damp hair across her face, but her eyes never wavered. She looked at Rex not as a stranger, not with fear, but with a fragile hope that had once died, and now trembled back to life. Rex remained motionless, muscles, taut tail, frozen mid-wag. His training demanded obedience, but something deeper surged, a memory of warmth, of small hands, brushing his fur, of nights spent curled beside a child who never spoke but always felt. He whimpered once, soft, almost questioning. Emma didn't flinch. She knelt on the wet asphalt, held out her hand, and whispered something so quiet only the dog could hear. Rex moved, not with the mechanical precision of a soldier, but with the slow reverence of something sacred rediscovered. His body lowered as he approached her, step by careful step, until his head pressed gently into her chest. Emma's fingers found the scar behind his ear, the one she used to trace while falling asleep. Her voice, lost for years, broke free in a single breath. "You came back." Lucas staggered forward, tears hot against cold skin. He knelt beside them, unsure who was comforting whom. Around them, the noise of authority faded. Even Officer Thompson, holding his document-laden clipboard like a shield, hesitated. The veterans behind them stood firm. Some saluted. One removed his cap. The storm above broke open, soaking them all. But in the center of it, a father, a daughter, and a dog, there was stillness. As if the world for once understood what not to interrupt. December 2021 had come with a cruelty no uniform could shield against. Lucas sat at his kitchen table, hands calloused from duty, now trembling over bills stacked like gravestones. Emma's therapy invoices, past due notices, and Rex's diagnosis: spinal injury, urgent surgery, a figure far beyond hope, $112,000. The department's K-9 insurance had already maxed out from prior treatments. Every credit line tapped. The mortgage stretched to save Mary before cancer claimed her. There was nothing left to give, except Rex. Emma had shown real progress, for the first time in years. She'd begun engaging with her world tentatively, like someone testing a frozen lake. Rex had been her bridge, her translator, her protector. But now Lucas had to choose continue her therapy or save the dog that made it work. The VA offered a solution. Take Rex pay for his treatment, reassign him to military service. He would live, but not with them. Lucas signed the papers with a numb resolve that felt like betrayal. The morning they drove to the VA facility, Rex sat in the back seat, head resting on Lucas's shoulder. Occasionally he nudged his arm the way he always had when sensing sadness. Lucas didn't speak. He couldn't. Emma was at therapy mercifully spared from witnessing the goodbye. At the facility, handlers waited. Rex's injured leg caused a slight limp as he was led away. He looked back once, ears tilted, confusion shadowing his gaze. That look would haunt Lucas forever. That evening, the silence in the house turned feral. Emma returned from therapy to find the dog bed empty, the leash gone from its hook. She stood motionless in the doorway, her eyes scanning the absence like a battlefield. And then she screamed, not with sound, but with her entire body, a quake of grief that tore through every room without a single word. She didn't eat, didn't sleep in her bed. She curled up beside the empty corner where Rex used to lie, clinging to his collar, rubbing the metal tag until it wore smooth beneath her fingers. The therapy notebook, once filled with cautious progress, sat unopened. Her voice, already scarce, disappeared completely. Lucas tried to recreate the rhythm they had built: morning walks, bedtime stories, even whispering Rex's name into her ear, like an incantation. But every routine had become a reminder of what was missing. At night, he found Emma asleep beside the dog bed, her drawings depicting a German shepherd with wings, and him. He caught himself saving scraps from dinner, calling stay to an empty room, reaching to scratch behind ears that were no longer there. Her therapist, Dr. Martinez, said it plainly. Rex wasn't just support. He was her bridge to the world. Without him, she's fallen into the gap. School became unbearable. Emma's anxiety returned in violent waves, without warning or control. Calls from the school nurse became routine. Lucas's job performance faltered. His supervisor pulled him aside, concern heavy in every word. He was losing both of them, his daughter and the dog who had kept them whole. At the VA Medical Center in Colorado Springs, Rex began a new chapter under surgical lights and sterile walls. Dr. Sarah Anderson, graying hair, warm eyes, oversaw his spinal procedure with the care of someone who understood not just biology, but bond. The surgery, one Lucas couldn't afford, was a success. Assigned to Master Sergeant James Cooper, a seasoned veteran in K-9 rehabilitation, Rex's training instincts resurfaced immediately. He stood at attention when personnel entered, responded to silent cues, and obeyed without hesitation. But Cooper noticed something deeper. Subject displays high empathy, he wrote. Appears to search for familiar faces among civilians, particularly children. During rehab, Rex often positioned himself outside the children's ward. No command required. He would sit alert, eyes, watchful, tail still. When young patients walked by, his demeanor softened the way it once had, near Emma. His recovery accelerated. He helped wounded veterans during therapy, adjusting his presence to their moods, silent for the broken, attentive for the restless. Staff began referring to it as the Rex effect, a therapy dog in disguise, wrapped in the skin of a soldier. But on stormy nights, Rex would pace restless. At times, he'd whimper in his sleep. Cooper noted it wasn't from pain. It was longing. For someone he used to guard. For a room where silence wasn't loneliness, but trust. One morning in September 2023, fate carved a new path through ice. During a routine training exercise at Cherry Creek State Park, 6-year-old Michael Turner slipped away from his grandmother and wandered toward the frozen lake. The ice cracked, then broke. Red Jacket's small hands and terror vanished beneath the surface. Before anyone could move, Rex bolted. His legs, though scarred by old wounds, surged with forgotten power. He crashed through the brittle surface, plunged into the freezing dark, and fought his way to the drowning child. With the same gentle grip he once used to nudge Emma from a meltdown, Rex caught Michael's jacket and hauled him toward shore. Blood streamed from his reopened leg wounds. His breath labored, but he didn't release the boy until human hands took over. Then Rex collapsed. News outlets swarmed. Hero military dog saves. Child blazed across headlines. Photos of Rex matted fur ice, clinging to whiskers. Eyes locked on the rescued boy flooded every screen in Colorado. And one of those screens sat in Lucas Mitchell's living room. When the segment aired, Lucas's pen dropped mid-bill. The camera zoomed in. A white star-shaped patch on Rex's chest. Unmistakable. Emma, silent for months, leaned in. Her fingers brushed the screen. Then she whispered Rex. It was the first word she had spoken since the day he left. That night, Lucas didn't sleep. He made calls, wrote emails, contacted everyone he knew. Emma slept curled around the newspaper clipping, finally peacefully. And the fight to bring Rex home began anew. The next morning, Lucas walked into the VA Medical Center with a folder, thick with Hope newspaper clippings, medical records, Emma's therapy notes, and a quiet storm behind his eyes. Behind a desk, stacked with regulation manuals, sat Ms. Patricia Webster, her glasses perched like judgment itself. Mr. Mitchell, she began, her tone clipped. Rex is government property, classified under Military Asset Code 247B. The transfer of ownership was legally binding. Lucas laid out each paper carefully, like pieces of his shattered life. Rex's police records, Emma's speech therapy charts detailing the dog's irreplaceable role. His voice didn't rise. He had no rage, left only resolve. Then Officer Chuck Thompson arrived. He carried no empathy, only rules, and a personal vendetta. This dog's service overlaps with police jurisdiction and federal interests. Liability issues from the Cherry Creek incident alone. Lucas didn't flinch. But behind the glass of the bureaucratic maze, storm clouds gathered. Each agency, military, police, animal control, clung to a piece of Rex like he was war spoils. Even Dr. Anderson's medical recommendation for Rex to return to a stable, familiar environment was buried beneath administrative dust. Then came the letter, official, cold, from the Department of Defense. Any further attempt to reclaim Rex would be met with federal charges, fines, prison, custody risks. Lucas stood in his kitchen that night watching Emma sleep with the photo of Rex. And still he didn't stop. In the dim back room of Carter's coffee shop, a circle of veterans gathered around a scratched oak table. Lucas sat among them, shoulders hunched under the weight of memory and injustice. At the head, former Marine Colonel David Richardson laid out legal documents like a general preparing for battle. The surrender was signed under duress. He explained, finger-tapping a line of legal text. This wasn't a voluntary decision. This was a father choosing between his child and his dog. No ethical court ignores that. Around the table, heads nodded, each man familiar with impossible choices. The story spread. Barbara Chin, a local journalist, dug deeper. Her research unearthed case after case of service animals reassigned as military assets, ripped from families through procedural loopholes. The pattern was clear and damning. Master Sergeant Cooper, caught between duty and conscience, sent carefully worded updates. Rex is declining, not physically. Emotionally, he's pacing again, not sleeping. He's searching. And then another voice entered the chorus, Michael Turner's grandmother. She recognized Rex from police photos. Her testimony cut through red tape like a blade. That dog didn't just save Michael. He protected him, comforted him, just like he must have done for his girl. A hashtag bloomed online. Bring Rex home. Veterans rallied. Families of service dogs spoke out. Emma, meanwhile, began drawing again, detailed scenes of Rex saving the boy on the ice. She narrated them to classmates. Her voice returned. Confidence bloomed. But the fight wasn't over, because bringing Rex home wasn't just about love anymore. It was about justice. December 15th, 2023. The air bit cold as Lucas's car pulled into the VA lot. Emma sat in the back seat, clutching Rex's old collar like a talisman. Master Sergeant Cooper had secured one chance, a supervised meeting, to assess Rex's civilian response. It wasn't reunion. It was evaluation. The room was sterile. Security cameras blinked. Dr. Anderson stood by, calm but watchful. Cooper led Rex in. The shepherd moved like a soldier, upright, disciplined but limping ever so slightly. His nose twitched. He caught her scent. Emma didn't move. She only whispered, and that broke him. His ears perked, tail twitched, but he held position, awaiting permission. When Cooper gave the soft command release, Rex crossed the floor in measured steps. Emma extended a hand. He pressed into it. Her fingers found the spot behind his ear. He leaned into her palm as if no time had passed, as if he'd never left. Silence filled the room, broken only by Emma's whisper, "Welcome home, Rex," and then shouts. Officer Thompson barged in, flanked by security waving legal documents. This meeting wasn't authorized under Municipal Code 8867. Dr. Anderson stepped forward, medical files in hand. "This is a clinical evaluation. I authorized it." More tension, more shouting, more threats. Then Rex's back leg buckled. He whimpered. The whine wasn't pain alone. It was old fear, returning. Dr. Anderson moved instantly. "His spinal injury is destabilizing. We need surgery. Now." In the surgical prep room, the truth came fast and cruel. "The spinal injury is worse than we thought," Dr. Anderson said, voice tight. Without immediate intervention, Rex could lose full mobility. The cost, over $15,000. The deadline, within 24 hours. Lucas's mind reeled. He had stood at this exact crossroad before, but this time, the stakes were higher. Rex's transfer to a military facility in Texas would cover the surgery, but separate him from Emma again. Dr. Martinez warned, another loss may undo all her progress. Emma didn't cry. She simply sat beside Rex on the exam table, her hand never leaving his fur. His breathing slowed at her touch. Around them, a war unfolded. Veterans made calls. A fundraiser launched. General Peterson took charge, rallying donors, contacts, connections. This dog saved a life. He saved a child. We don't leave our own behind. Still, military protocol fought back. A transfer order arrived from the Department of Defense. Rex was property. Consent for surgery required federal approval. Approval that would take 72 hours. Rex didn't have 72 hours. Then the truth surfaced. Barbara Chin's investigation uncovered irregularities in Rex's original transfer, misdiagnosed injury severity, withheld documents, and Officer Thompson's personal vendetta. A vendetta tied to an old misconduct report filed by Lucas himself. Even worse, the military never intended for Rex to serve again. Internal memos showed he was always meant for therapy roles, not combat redeployment. Everything had been manipulated, and now it was collapsing. The revelations detonated through official channels like shockwaves. Colonel Richardson compiled a detailed legal brief, citing Barbara Chin's evidence and testimony from Dr. Morrison, the retired veterinarian, who had recommended Rex's civilian rehabilitation years earlier, only to be ignored. His records proved the injury had been exaggerated to expedite Rex's reclassification. General Peterson convened an emergency hearing. Within 48 hours, Rex's status was changed from active military asset to retired therapy dog. Officer Thompson was suspended. New national protocols were drafted. Service animals would no longer be reassigned without ethical review, especially when tied to therapeutic bonds with families. But for the Mitchells, justice wasn't paperwork. It was the moment Dr. Anderson entered the hospital room with a leather folder. Inside Rex's retirement certificate, a service medal for valor at Cherry Creek, and a formal custody transfer. Emma, in her best dress, walked forward to receive Rex's collar, and when she placed it around his neck, he sat beside her, like he always had. No longer a soldier, just family. In the months that followed, the Mitchell home became a place of quiet repair. Dr. Martinez designed a reintegration plan, tailored to both Emma and Rex. Physical therapy for him, speech therapy for her, interwoven in gentle shared routines. Emma fed him daily, brushed his fur, helped with his exercises. In doing so, she healed too. Lucas modified the house ramp's padded floors, a dedicated rest space where Rex and Emma could retreat together. For the first time in years, peace was not something fragile, but something earned. Nationally, their story sparked change. VA medical centers launched new standards for service animal retirement. The Rex Clause ensured that emotional bonds would weigh equally with bureaucratic protocols. Lucas was appointed liaison between military and civilian canine divisions, his experience now guiding others. The community fund originally meant to save Rex was repurposed. It now helps families keep their service animals through medical hardship. Emma even helped design the new logo, a dog curled beside a child's feet. And Rex? He wore two collars now, his old leather one, and a ribboned Medal of Service. At home, he dozed by Emma's side. At school, he helped her read aloud. In therapy, he rested his head in her lap, calm and steady. One morning, as Lucas walked past Emma's room, he heard her whisper a story to Rex, to herself, to no one and everyone, about a hero who found his way back and stayed.